I'll be over there in 5. See you soon. This wasn't a dream. You couldn't be foolish enough to convince yourself that this wasn't the day you were finally about to meet your online boyfriend for over 2 years now. From the crushing from afar in middle school, to the restless nights of devoted pining in high school, only for contact to be cut short after moving away, to reconnecting with mutual friends in university through exchanging numbers, to now. You turn your phone off after reading the reply. You let out a final sigh before you stepped foot into the restaurant. You were finally going to meet him. For months, you didn't believe it could ever come to this. And now that it was about to become reality, you were ecstatic. You carried a small jig in your step, desperately trying to tame the storm of butterflies awakening every nerve within your body, and the restless jitters in your feet that you could swear you were on the verge of getting pins and needles as you walked in. Before you could lose yourself completely in thought, you were taken aback by the smell of good comfort food, accompanied by the lively chatter of other customers and soft jazz music. Overhead lanterns and blooming foliage added charm to the atmosphere of the place. You pulled your phone from out of your bag to check the time. Every second felt like an eternity, but you weren't going to spend it worrying about nothing. Not when you were about to make a first real impression to your online partner. Not when the night was clear and the moon was high above you, little fireflies dancing around nearby plants, the sound of cheering and the clinking drinks from other tables, and everything was perfect. You had planned out this date in your mind a month prior. Your outfit, the perfume you're wearing, the stories you were going to tell, the jokes, cheesy pickup lines, and puns you've been keeping under wraps for just tonight. You couldn't wait to see him double over laughing over a drink. You couldn't wait to make him fall head over heels this Valentine's evening. The minutes went by and not much had changed. You sat at the table with the rest of the world moving past you every couple seconds, watching everything else happen except your partner arriving. It was stranger after stranger, unfamiliar families and friends passing by, as you remained in your seat and waited. Patience was never your strongest trait. It was something you've worked on for a very long time, and this relationship was a testament to that. But the excitement and expectation was keeping doubts well at bay. Though the more time that passed, the more that doubt started to grow. As a compromise, you would text him once in a while just to make sure, but for the most part, you pushed it down anyway and figured that the adrenaline was making time feel slow. You'd remind yourself not to get wrapped up in the anxiety, otherwise you resort to your bad habits, and that it had only been a couple of minutes of waiting, so why rush a perfect moment? It wasn't until you started noticing the gaze from other people, looking over their shoulders before diverting themselves back into whatever conversation they were having. Were they talking about you? Maybe it wasn't just adrenaline, and before you knew it, your brain was scrambling for excuses. Uncomfortably, you glanced towards your bag occupying the space on your table, leaning against the wall next to you. Should you text him again? You promised yourself that you weren't going to text anyone during your date and to give him your full attention. Those butterflies in your stomach started to die out, and pressure started to weigh in on the barrier of optimism you built. You felt so bad for the waitress you kept turning down, asking you if you'd like to order for the 4th time tonight. It was already dark, and you just realized that when you glanced out the open windows of the restaurant. Eyeing your bag one last time, you reached in to grab your phone, cursing at the numb stiffness in your fingertips as you shakily tapped the fingerprint lock multiple times on your phone to get it to unlock. It had been 3 hours since you arrived. You hadn't eaten anything, and your date wasn't here. What was worse was the fact that his number disappeared from your contacts list. You went searching for his number on several other apps, and he was gone. You hadn't realized the swelling of pure anxiety and betrayal until it started to form hot tears in your eyes. You dropped your phone into your lap as your world, your dream, came crashing down on you from the skies. The night felt hot against your skin. Your head felt like it was spinning out of control, so you covered your eyes with your hands in an attempt to ease the pain. You could swear people were watching you with pity and secondhand shame, mocking you, possibly. It sure felt like it. And if they weren't, then you figured you definitely deserved it. Now it was all making sense. You didn't deserve him. He was too good for you. No one like you should have ever gotten with someone like him. You were unmatched for him. He wasn't supposed to be your type, and you knew it. You would declare it yourself with numerous speech bubbles of self-deprecation to make him feel better. With the many times you would disregard your own self for his sake, even at his request sometimes. This wasn't a dream, but here you are, a crying, embarrassing, heartbroken mess. Making a fool of yourself for a full restaurant and staff to gawk at from afar. The same waitress came around the bend to tap on your shoulder, asking if you would like to order now, but you gave no response. As much as you wanted to reassure her that everything was fine, you thought of how you were looking right now in this poor, pathetic state. You sitting here gave her the opportunity to be kind, something you convinced yourself long ago not to take for granted, or take any at all. You've just had enough of this. Pitifully, you shove your phone right back into your bag, looking for the exit of the restaurant, feeling just about ready to curl up in your blankets and cry out to your family on the phone until your lungs gave out. You slung your bag back onto your shoulder, but before you could get up, you heard hurried footsteps coming towards you. Baby, I'm so sorry. Your eyes shot up to meet with the apologetic stare of a young man, about your age or possibly a little older, apologizing profusely to you. Feeling a little alarmed, confused, but oddly charmed by the silvery sound of his voice, begging for your forgiveness, you asked, "I'm sorry. What are you sorry for?" Your voice came out a little quieter than expected, but your expression gave off enough confusion for him to get the message. He gave you an honest look as he admits, "I noticed you were waiting the entire time, and then I saw that you were crying, and I just couldn't help but feel horrible to see you get stood up like this. So after my shift ended, I thought I could offer you some company since that's why you were waiting here so long. I believe you don't deserve to be stood up like this, and trust me, I know what it feels like." Before he could trail off any further, he pauses, walking off to the side, bashfully rubbing his own arm before he got back to what he was talking about. "I know this is probably an unwelcome surprise, and I totally get it if you'd like to leave, but I just hoped I could maybe do something to make you feel better and make your date tonight a great one, since I felt like you wanted to have a fun night, and I want to make it happen for you." You were wide-eyed, and your mouth dropped too. You were also probably blushing at this point. This wasn't something you expected at all. Right as you fully realized what had happened, you were still speechless. Was he really serious? "Oh, yeah, You racked the deepest parts of your brain to form a cohesive sentence, but nothing. After dreaming of so many possibilities for this date to turn out, some feature being surprised with flowers, chocolates, or even a teddy bear, to others having the both of you just talk and eat for hours until the restaurant kicked you out, you couldn't think to consider the possibility of your date to not show up, and have this kind, handsome stranger take his place for the night, completely unplanned. But you weren't completely against it either. He cleared his throat and produces a travel-sized packet of tissues from his pocket and held the sheet in front of you. "Would you like to, He gestured his free hand towards the tissues. You ducked yourself out of your tangled assortment of thoughts to remember what was happening and notice the tissues. "Yeah, thank you." For the first time tonight, you felt a bit of tension release from your body as you cleaned up the rest of your tears and blew your nose, secretly wishing you didn't have nasal canals that sounded like elephants. But with his height coupled with his body partially shielding you from the gaze of restaurant onlookers, it did help you feel a bit more secure. After breathing in a couple times through your nose and recollecting your words, you could finally say, "Thank you so much." You paused as you contemplated on calling him Sir, since that would be a bit too formal for the situation. But he responds just in time. Koshi Sugawara. My friends just call me Suga." With acknowledging his name, you continue. Thank you, Suga. This was very thoughtful of you. You really didn't have to do this for me. Before you start to ramble on your own, he reassures you with a smile. Hey, it's completely fine. Please don't feel like you owe me anything. Like I said, I just want to make you feel better. He smiled a little wider after that. As if following suit, you felt a grateful smile stretch onto your lips to match his sweet expression. Suga went ahead to pull out your chair and pushed it back in once you seated yourself. Then he took the seat across you and called one of the other waitresses to order your food for you, since he mentioned wanting to pay for you. You confessed that you've never been to this place, so you were completely clueless about what you wanted, along with the fact that you didn't even take one look at the menu when you were waiting 3 hours for your no-show. All you did tell Suga was, "Surprise me." It was like a light bulb switched on the moment he knew what to order and whispered it to the waitress's ear. And soon after that, she gave a curt bow and went straight for the kitchens. With each passing second, you felt a little lighter, a little more comfortable in his presence. Like the pressure of having a good first impression and the goal to thoroughly entertain was thrown out into the ocean. You couldn't pinpoint exactly what it was, but you were warming up to Suga really quickly. It was almost alarming how easy he was around you, and how easy you were around him. And it made you wonder if you would have clicked with your ex-date just as well as with a thoughtful, spontaneous, and kind guy like Sugawara if he did show up. Part of you even wondered if he was on his way now and considered maybe Suga was buying him time. Hello? Suga's sing-songy chirp snapped you out of your thoughts once again. But you awkwardly fumble around, adjusting to the new situation, feeling embarrassed, but the look on his face didn't blame you for dissociating. There you are. He let out a small giggle, blinking into a smile, which gave you enough time to notice his delicate eyelashes against his snowy fair skin as they flicked back up towards you, like an invitation to keep your eyes on him this time. I thought I lost you there. He tilted his head affectionately at you, that smile still radiating sunshine like the first time he smiled at you. Yeah, I'm sorry, I was just thinking of some stuff. You try to brush it off, telling yourself to stay composed and calm as to not draw even more attention to yourself. What kind of stuff? Suga asked curiously. Oh, just stuff about him, you know? You were referring to your Mr. No-Show, and he hummed in understanding. Yeah, I totally understand. It's like feeling betrayed by the person you loved and you're left feeling so confused. His gaze softens. You almost caught a glimpse of sadness, but it disappeared like the breeze from the open windows took his emotions with it. But after every thunderstorm, there will be sunlight to greet you the very next day. Sugawara smiled at that. You brightened up just a little, looking out the fellow restaurant-goers, secretly wishing this night had just gone perfectly, and Suga didn't have to fill in as your date. You didn't dislike him. You just didn't want to force him into compensating for that heartbreaker. Although, you did appreciate his sweetness, and admired his guts to even go up to you and play pretend to save you from embarrassment. He really didn't have to. All of a sudden. Negativity? Be gone! Your face snapped towards the gray net sitting across you, before seeing the tip of a finger aiming straight for your forehead, before lowering gently, tapping the button of your nose. Did he just... Suga chuckled with amusement while retracting his hand. There we are. Knew it'd work. He looked proud and relieved at his trick. It surprised, puzzled, and amused you all at once, that you didn't know exactly what to feel. What was that for? You questioned. Oh, well, it's nothing. I just casted a spell on you so you wouldn't be so sad anymore, because I've decided that I'm not going to allow it as long as I'm here for you. He claimed, offering a cheesy but undeniably adorable side wink, allowing his beauty mark to share a bit of the spotlight of your gaze. You felt your cheeks flaring up just slightly, taken aback, but not the bad kind. It was actually kind of cute. You cupped your hand onto your cheek to hold it up, simultaneously concealing the pink tinge that rose to your face. Okay, where did you learn how to do that? Casually shrugging, Suga replies, I don't know. It was kind of something I like to do with friends and my teammates. He moved his hand towards the fake plant ornament on the wall beside him, before pausing to correct himself. Former teammates. He gently poked at the fake roses that poured out of a large shell attached to the wall. Former teammates? You parrot back, before the smell of food pulled you both away from your thoughts. The waitress placed the various plates of your food in front of the two of you, and secretly held back a snort at the way the two of you looked like starving hyenas over a fresh carcass. After briefly admiring your late dinner, Suga resumes the conversation. Oh, right. Teammates. So, I played volleyball in high school. He began, picking up his silverware and sighing fondly, shaking his head softly at flashes of memories with the team. Gosh, it feels like we just graduated yesterday. I miss them so much. I should visit the boys again. He chuckles at the sudden flood of emotions washing over him from simply remembering. He quietly awed at the granette, wondering what kind of family he and his team were. Sorry, I'm going on a tangent. Oh, no, it's okay, you're fine. I actually find it pretty cute. I can tell that you love your team very much. Suga shyly rubbed the back of his neck. Yeah. He nods. 3 years of playing with a bunch of idiots really does take a toll on you. Which of them was your favorite idiot? You ask, before taking a sip from your sweet iced tea. Suga looked off to the side to ponder his answer. This is like one of those questions that scientists haven't even answered. He inhaled into a raspberry, turning the corners of his lips slightly to create the impression of a duckbill. You giggled at the way he looked at you, keeping his silly expression, wide hazelnut eyes, blinking twice at a time that it brings your attention back to his lashes and beauty mark. After he made his decision, his mouth scrunched into a circle like a fish and released them, making a wet pop sound. Okay, so I was debating on... well, this could go 2 ways. Number 1, which one caused the most amount of stress and frustration for me, and number 2, which one was basically the entire star of the show, really. And his name is... After his ramble, Suga beat the table with his fingers as if he were playing the bongos, to which she followed suit to amuse him. And in TV show host fashion, he revealed his answer. Hinata Shoyo. He was one of our monster babies, and boy was he a handful. He's got this bright orange tangerine hair going on, and he is tiny. But he is so good at playing. I don't think we could have done as well in tournaments if he wasn't on our team. Suga carried on to gush about this so-called Hinata Shoyo, and he would pull a weird face each time he'd mention something interesting, and held back giggles at his pure childlike excitement and pride. But you made sure you were engaging, even though his words were flying past you. You decided to stop his ramble before he passes out from forgetting to breathe. Okay. Now, next question. You began, and he pipes down almost immediately. Impressive. Favorite movies or book series? You smirk, deciding to spice it up with a challenge. Lightning round, go! Oh shit, Suga gasped, and his hands laid flat on the table to brace himself in thought. You giggle at him, watching as he searched his brain for any words he could find, but he was just hunched over the table, over his food, mouth agape and eyes darting every so often like a caveman on a hunt. You swore to yourself and the gods above that you'd remember this moment and cherish it. You started to spout out whatever shows came to mind first. The Hunger Games, Harry Potter, I haven't gotten to see the musical by the way, but I hear it's amazing, The Lightning Thief, Star Wars, anything and everything Disney, some Marvel and DC, not really a fan of those, I did like some of the comics. Oh, Game of Thrones, but only the beginning part because I got bored of it. The Golden Compass, Maze Runner, Jumanji, and... He paused and shrugged. I think that's all the ones off the top of my head. I have a much wider selection of stuff back home that I'm absolutely forgetting. He lets out a chuckle through his sentence. And the date went on for a while, just like that, talking about your favorite shows and characters, softly debating over Disney villains, and gushing over Hercules and Meg for scientific reasons. You both found yourselves having a sword fight with your chopsticks over Suga getting offended by you unintentionally dissing Mulan's character for being a failed prototype Moana. Therefore, he served dishonor on you, your Pokemon plushies, your cat, and your cacti back at home. You hoped that he would choke on his rice for doing the whole dishonor speech, almost dropping your own bowl of rice off the table. Not out of spite, but just wishful thinking. Good thing he profusely apologized before he could feel your wrath, as well as just getting to know each other's hobbies and dreams. You mentioned wanting to turn your passion for art, specifically illustration, into a full-time career, to hopefully become a webtoonist one day. Meanwhile, Suga was kind of drifting. He expresses that he doesn't really know what he wants to be, after coming to the realization that a career in professional volleyball wouldn't be suited for him. He's focusing on finding other passion now. You brought up when he briefly said that he felt the same way you did when he first explained himself, and he went on to tell the story of how he was stood up by a partner he thought was going to show up to a dinner date they planned months prior, when instead of entering the restaurant like his ex-partner ought to do, Suga recalls watching his ex get picked up by another guy and was then taken to a different location, and when he got up to find where they went, he spotted them at a nearby cat cafe, and he recalls bawling his eyes out all the way back home, and it took him months before he could open himself back up to try dating again. You jokingly comment on adding another person to your so-called Death Note, whilst nonchalantly referring to a popular anime series that unfortunately flew under the radar for Suga, but he at least understood the sentiment of what you said. But hey, at least you got to let out that fire on me, and not the weenie that boyfriend of yours was for not showing up. Suga decides to take a jab on Mr. No-Show. Oh, right. You forgot that Suga wasn't your actual boyfriend. Though now, you didn't seem fazed by the mentioning of that asshole. He'd run for the hills if he ever gets on my bad side. Trust, you retort, rolling your eyes and taking a long sip of your half-full glass of tea. What's your bad side like? Suga decided today was the day he wanted to challenge the unforgiving, savage beast within you. Or rather, the pudgy little sass monster that lived in the darkest depths of your subconscious. Not wanting to give him the time of day, you merely gave him a look, a pause after the cool glass rim of the drink left your lips. Suga expectantly lifts an eyebrow, bracing for a comeback from you. Do you really want to know, Sugawara? Because I don't plan on handing your ass back to you on Valentine's Day. Surprisingly unsurprised by your comeback, Sugawara's eyes widen and eyebrows arched, half smirking and only semi-impressed. But he knows just the way to take this one up a notch. God, when did the food get so spicy? You open your mouth to say something, matter-of-factly like a normal person, before Suga growls the rest of the line. "'Cause I think you're gonna need my sugar to tame that heat of yours." He smirks triumphantly at the sound you made. It was somewhere between a squeal, a whimper, and a shriek that it made your eyes squeeze shut, your cheeks turn scarlet red, and your hands reach up to cover your face. Your body leaning helplessly, on the verge of melting against the wall, made everything so much funnier. All of a sudden, his hazel eyes that were fixated on you now weren't so pure anymore. Was that a little too much? Suga asked sheepishly, and as if on reflex, you grabbed your chopsticks and aimed for his face, fury and determination in your eyes pinned onto him like a bird of prey locked onto its target. He blocks you with his arm just in time, and within the span of 3 seconds, a round 2 at Ultimate Chopstick Warrior had commenced. The battle was a little more wild than round 1, more flailing and pokes to each other's hand to get them to drop the chopsticks, since that was the aim of the game. But unfortunately for you, he had the better position and you willfully forfeited. Okay, you win. Happy? Crossing your arms out of frustration, you stared Suga dead in the eye because of your defeat. You notoriously hated to lose, and normally you'd keep fighting until eventually someone else would have to pry you away from your opponent. But just this once, for your cute-ass date, you rolled over and let him steamroll you. He saw no joking around in your tone. Then at the sight of Suga frowning and looking away, looking embarrassed and possibly kicking himself over for a stupid joke, the tiniest bloom of sadness grew in your heart, causing the butterflies in your stomach to panic again. I'm so sorry if that joke was too much. I really just wanted to kindly challenge you, and I didn't think I'd have that effect. If it made you completely uncomfortable, no, it's not that, you reassured, pouting through the next sentence. I'm not that good at teasing and just being intimidating, and I don't even think I looked good doing it, and I was just flustered and jealous that you could do that so well. You rested your head on your hands on the table, sulking over your petty loss. The things this man was doing to your emotions was so much, too much, that you were always left wanting more. You took a mental note to come up with a comeback to take him down next time. Suga raises a brow at the sudden revelation and smiles once again. Your heart can stop breaking away in bits now. I thought you looked cute when you were taunting me. I mean, I think you look cute in whatever mood you are. I just really liked it when you were feisty, even if you thought it was lame or anything like that. And I usually do like my food spicy most of the time, so I consider that a compliment, but, you know, yeah. There goes that disarming sincerity again. You felt a smile tug on your lips before sitting up properly instead of slouching over the table. After that scuffle, you both took a breather to finish off what was left of your food. You looked between yourself and Suga in front of you as you commented, I really didn't expect tonight to go this well. Sugawara automatically switches demeanors and smiles innocently at you, making those butterflies gather in the pit of your stomach. That's my master plan, but... He pressed his pointer finger to his temple and thought, I think you picked yourself back up better than I could. You furrow your brows in confusion. He sat back upright and explained, Let me put it this way. When you're deep in your thoughts, doubts, fears, and sadness, you don't do too well. You close up to protect yourself. But when there's an opening for you to be happy and carefree again, you took that opportunity and made good use of it. You took the chance to give me a lightning round on my favorite shows, and argue with me about fictional characters at the drop of a hat, when, moments before, you were hiding away in your shell. You showed so much excitement and enthusiasm. You're so empathetic and so... fun. And yet before, you doubted everything and blamed yourself for the night not going your way, when it wasn't even your fault. What I'm saying is that, as long as you keep your head held high, never doubt yourself, and trust that you can turn things around on your own, you can do anything you want to do. And I think that's amazing. Suga let his forearms rest on either sides of the table, watching as your expression turns into one of grateful embarrassment, or shy happiness. Whichever one, he was happy he could make you feel a little better than before. But more importantly, he was proud that you had the ability to show yourself to him, even if he wasn't the one. I never thought of myself that way, you confess, mirroring his arm position. You really believe that? It was Suga's turn to be confused, his silver baby brows knit together into upward teardrops. But instead of sporting a frown on his lips, he held a soft smile, almost bewildered at what you said. Of course I do. I do think you're awesome and an amazing person. I do think you deserve the best night tonight. And I do want to make you feel special, because no one else was there to save me. And I hope I did my part in making tonight special for you. I would never lie to you, or anyone, about how I truly feel. And I would never take advantage of a vulnerable situation if I didn't believe that I was going to make a positive impact on you. I hope I did. His words were brimming with so much raw heart and soul, like a promise to follow you anywhere you went, as sweet and comforting as a childhood lullaby, like a tune on a music box with two dancers that were destined to dance to this melody together for all time. filled with a heart-fluttering innocence that had you melting for him right then and there. You reached your hand out, then simultaneously, Suga extended his own hand towards yours. Instinctively, you both clasped your hands in each other's, like lovers do, relishing in the feel of the other's hand. Your gaze focused on his face, staring back at you with starstruck eyes and bright red cheeks. Thank you so much, Koushi. You don't know how much this means to me. The sweet calling of his given name made his heart rate jump to a full sprint. At any given moment, he might as well pass out. With a swarm of butterflies in his stomach growing stronger, all he could do to keep any form of groundedness was to stare at you and admire his enchanting date mate. Your hair, the way it was styled, sat serenely in place, framing your face so perfectly. Your clothes, fitting you like it was tailor-made by a world-renowned designer. Your eyes shyly staring back at him, brimming with joy and gratitude. He appreciated every single tiny detail, from the sparkle in your eyes from the light of the lanterns, to the shine in your minimal jewelry dancing in the light. He truly believed the stars aligned in his favor when he first saw you, crying into your hands, helpless and lonely like he once was. And he thanked whatever gods of love that blessed him to have met such an interesting, wonderful, talented person this evening. If his pupils weren't hearts before, then they absolutely were right now. Koushi? He snapped out of his love-struck trance of you at the sound of your voice. Huh? He could only make the sound of a dumbfounded mumble to reply to his own name. I think we should pay right now, and it's getting really late. You almost sounded desperate to get out of here, but at the same time, you didn't want to leave him just yet. Sugawara's brain fully returned to proper functioning condition again. Oh, I already paid for us when I ordered his food, so he can just leave. What a turn of events tonight. A date almost gone completely wrong, saved by a knight with shining silver hair, thoroughly fed and entertained by both of your chaotic antics, and falling head over heels for a handsome stranger within the span of a single evening. Arm in arm, you and Koushi exit the restaurant, and as if he couldn't get any more generous, he offered to drive you all the way back to your apartment so he could make sure you were home safe and sound. At this point, you could only think to do one thing. You stopped walking and let go of his arm. Suga turned back to face you, worried something was wrong. He took a step to approach you, just as you were going to as well, and you went as far up on your toes as you could to plant your lips onto his. He was passionate, yet gentle with this kiss, tasting sweetness in your lips and savoring the feeling of your velveteen tongue against his own. His arms wrapped around your waist to secure you against his chest, as your hands found their way into his soft locks. After the two of your lips parted after a moment of genuine emotional connection, you tilt your head to look up at Koushi, who looked just as dazed and in love in his eyes, with only the light of the moon and the stars watching you in these tender moments. In one breath-like whisper, you say, I love you. He lowered his forehead to yours, and in his own whisper says, I love you too, baby.